What if a simple delivery job turned into a whirlwind marriage with a millionaire? Stay tuned to Dark Voices to find out how love can bloom in the most unexpected places. A woman who delivered a parcel to a church was switched to be the bride of a groom in exchange for $2 million for 6 months. But what if the man opposed the woman signing the divorce papers after the 6 months? Hey, you, handle this delivery. The place is just near your area. Grace Bloom paused from sorting the parcels she needed to deliver when Raymond dropped another large parcel in front of her. Her lips parted, and she glanced at him. "That thing is huge, and it looks heavy," she complained. "I don't want to do it." "There are a bunch of parcels you need to deliver," Raymond stated, patting her on the back. Grace stared at the parcel, which was bigger than she was. "I wonder what's in it," she murmured, before letting out a deep breath and then placing it onto her small delivery scooter. Grace Bloom is a drifter, a woman with no direction in life. She is 25 years old and currently struggling to make ends meet. She works as a delivery girl. In fact, she's newly hired at her company, which is why some of her coworkers act like they're her boss. Women are rarely hired in this line of work. Initially, they didn't want to accept her because she was female, but she insisted since she needed money. Besides, she believed a woman could do anything a man could do. People were just being overly dramatic because that's what they were used to. She started delivering parcels to various places, often traveling along the highway. Some people gave her tips, some made her wait for a few minutes, others scolded her for whatever reason. Just like now. "Ugh, I waited 2 weeks only to get the wrong product," a woman complained to Grace, returning a half-open parcel. "I don't want it anymore. Take it back. Give me a refund." "Ma'am, I'm just the delivery person," Grace responded, handing the parcel back. "All I do is deliver. You need to complain to the seller. It's not even what I ordered." "I just wanted regular underwear," the woman snapped, causing Grace to cover her nose when a wave of bad breath assaulted her senses. You should have just ordered toothpaste instead," Grace blurted out without thinking, then quickly bit her lip in regret, worried things might escalate. Fortunately, the woman realized Grace was the wrong person to blame. Complaining to the delivery girl wouldn't fix anything if the product came from the seller in error. Can a delivery girl's life change forever with one mysterious package? Keep watching Dark Voices to uncover the shocking twist. It was probably around 2 p.m. when Grace finished delivering all the parcels on her scooter. Only one remained undelivered, the large, heavy-looking one. "What is this?" she muttered, checking the details of where to deliver it, then saw that it was going to a church. Maybe a pastor ordered something, she thought. She headed straight to the church, and upon arriving, she got off her scooter and lifted the huge parcel, nearly straining herself under its weight. It felt expensive. She spotted 2 flamboyant men outside, both looking upset at one another with furrowed brows. She glanced down at her phone, trying to contact the number of the recipient, but there was no signal. Left with no other choice, she walked inside the church. Entering, she frowned at the decorations. What's going on? Is there a wedding? She wondered. It didn't look like the ceremony had started because the place was noisy, and the priest wasn't there yet. She took a deep breath before speaking up. "Hello," her voice echoed through the church, catching everyone's attention. They all fell silent and looked at her. "Is there a Mr. Anderson here?" "Your package is here. There's a $1,000 charge." People in the church began whispering among themselves. A woman approached Grace and said, "Miss, can you step out for now? This is the wedding day of a very important person in our community. It's a grand wedding." She then gave Grace a gentle shove. "I won't take long," Grace replied with a polite smile. "I just have to deliver an order here. Do you know a Mr. Anders?" "Miss, you really need to leave. There are many Andersons. No way the groom would be ordering something today." "I don't really care," Grace said. "I just need to hand over the order and get paid. That's not going to ruin anyone's wedding. They haven't even started yet, right?" Before the woman could protest further, a new voice cut in. "Who's that?" The woman paled, spun around, and blocked Grace's view. It was a man in a white suit, presumably the groom. He did look like a Mr. Anderson. "Sir, it's nothing," the woman said quickly. "Go back to the front. The bride is arriving soon." Grace ignored her and asked the man, "Are you Mr. Mark Andrew Anderson?" "Yes, why?" he replied, looking surprised. Grace held out the huge parcel. "Your package is here. It's $1,000, though." He frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Don't pretend you didn't buy anything just because it's your wedding day," Grace insisted. "You need to pay for your order, sir, so I can leave." "I didn't order anything," he said firmly, pushing the parcel back at her. "I don't buy random stuff." "Seriously," Grace said, pointing to the shipping label. "Your name is right here, from an online shop to Mr. Mark Andrew Anderson." "That's a scam," he said irritably, waving at the men behind him. "Escort this delivery girl out of here." The men grabbed Grace to drag her out of the church. She struggled, yelling, "What are you doing? Let go of me. Hey, you have to pay me. You're a rich guy, right? How is this a scam?" "Please leave, miss," one of the men said. "Show some respect. It's his wedding day." Another man gave her a rough shove. "Come back and pay me, or you'll regret it," Grace threatened as she stumbled out, forced to catch the parcel they threw at her. She clutched her fist, seething at the arrogant groom. "I hope your bride doesn't show up, you jerk," she shouted, which made the groom freeze and glance at her. Then she walked away, still lugging the large, unpaid parcel. Mark's point of view lingered on what the woman had shouted. For some reason, it made him uneasy. An hour passed, and everyone waited inside the church, but Andrea, his bride, still hadn't arrived. Even the guests were starting to whisper, wondering if the wedding would go on at all. He overheard an older woman, Aunt Esther, ask Mark, "Did you at least get what you ordered? Goodness, you received a parcel, but you haven't received your bride. Where is she?" His stepmother, Mary, fanned herself. "Maybe Andrea isn't coming at all, my dear boy. It's been an hour. Think she can still show her face now?" He glared at Mary. He already suspected she had a hand in Andrea's absence. They were quite close. He refused to let Mary succeed in her plans. Without a word, Mark walked out of the church to look for a replacement bride. He needed to get married that day, or else he'd lose the inheritance from his late father. He wasn't about to let his stepmother claim it, so he'd marry anyone, if necessary. "Sir," called out one of his security men, hurrying after him. "Find that delivery woman," Mark ordered coolly. "She can't have gone far." "Yes, sir." Mark was no longer thinking straight, only that he had to be married that very day. Just from Mary's smug expression, he knew she was behind Andrea's disappearance. He wasn't going to let her win. He drove down the highway, scanning the area. He finally spotted the delivery girl at a small store, sipping a soda and munching on bread. He parked at the curb, staying inside the tinted car so she wouldn't see him right away. His phone rang. It was Aunt Esther. "Hello, Mark, where are you? Is the wedding still on? The guests are getting restless. Mary is telling them to go home because it might not happen anymore." Mark clenched his jaw. "The wedding is still happening, Aunt Esther," he said sharply. "I found someone." He hung up. Finishing her snack, the delivery girl was about to ride off on her scooter when she noticed his car. She stepped closer, curiosity visible on her face. He watched her from inside. She peered into the tinted window, apparently thinking nobody was inside. She even used the reflection to check her teeth and, shockingly, to pick her nose. Mark finally had enough and lowered the window. She froze, eyes going wide. "You!" she exclaimed, pointing at him. "Pay for your order." "I'll pay for that scam parcel, even though it's not mine," he said, "if you do what I want." She raised an eyebrow. "And why is there a condition? You're obligated to pay because your name is on it. I told you it's a scam. I don't buy cheap stuff." If it's so cheap, pay for it, she shot back. Mark sighed. Fine, I'll pay for that stupid parcel. In fact, I'll pay you 100 times its price he paused, if you marry me. She gaped. Marry you? Wait, 1,000 times 100 equals, she paused, upon realizing the amount. You're going to give me $100,000 just to marry you? He nodded. Yes, but don't worry, it's not for life. We can separate after 6 months. But why me? She pressed, narrowing her eyes. You don't even know me. Did your bride ditch you or something? She snorted. Maybe you got karma for being such a jerk. He clenched his fists. So, do you agree? She seemed to hesitate. Of course, she said, then smiled slightly. Of course not. What do you take me for, sheep? $100,000 is nothing these days. You're rich, and that's all you'll pay? No thanks. Panicked that she was about to leave, Mark jumped out of the car and blocked her path. Fine, $1 million. She halted. $1 million to marry you? He nodded. Yes, I really need to get married today. This is the deadline for my father's last will. If I'm not married by the end of today, my stepmother, Mary, gets my entire inheritance. I won't allow that. I'll marry anyone, even a stranger. She seemed to think about it. I'll consider, take it, he interrupted. I'll make it $2 million, he added. Her eyes nearly sparkled. Really? Yes, and if you want, I'll hand it over immediately. I need the wedding to happen today so I can secure my father's will. Otherwise, everything goes to Mary. All right, she said, excitement glowing in her eyes. Where's the wedding? Let's go. Mark gestured to his men, who promptly hauled Grace over their shoulder like a sack. Startled, she yelped as they shoved her into a trailing van. Inside were a makeup artist, a hairstylist, and a spare wedding gown, just in case Andrea never arrived. Grace Bloom's point of view, she felt bombarded as multiple brushes dabbed at her face and a stylist tugged at her hair while someone else dressed her in a wedding gown. Oh gosh, how did this happen? She wondered. I just became a millionaire. $2 million. I can probably quit work forever. She thought, then yelped when the stylist pulled her hair. Ouch! Do you not brush your hair? The stylist retorted. It's so tangled, like your grandma's pubic hair. Hey, you've never even seen my grandma's pubic hair, Grace snapped back. Anyway, go easy on me. I'm about to become your boss's bride. They ignored her, continuing what felt like torture until they were finished. She didn't even get to see herself in the mirror before the van started moving. When they arrived at the church, guests were already heading out, assuming the wedding wouldn't happen. Their jaws dropped upon seeing Grace step out. Where are you all going? She said loudly. I'm here. This wedding is happening. They stared in disbelief. She was obviously the delivery girl from earlier. A well-dressed older woman with a raised eyebrow and a folded fan approached. And who might you be? She is my bride, Mark declared, suddenly appearing and taking Grace by the arm. The wedding is on. The woman's mouth fell open. Mark Andrew, are you replacing Andrea with this? She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Andrea isn't here, Mary, Mark answered coldly. And she won't be migrating here magically. If you still want to witness a beautiful wedding, then go back inside. Mary gritted her teeth, but Mark led Grace forward so the ceremony could begin. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, a host announced later at the reception. The signage initially said Mark and Andrea, but it was changed to Mark and Grace. Grace found it surreal. She'd only been a delivery girl that morning, and now she was married to a man who still hadn't even paid for the parcel. She was going home with $2 million, though. The reception was fancy, with many guests speaking in English, yet Grace understood little. She just smiled politely, too shy to attempt speaking back. Congratulations on actually going through with it, Mark, remarked a woman who appeared to be in her 60s. She was the same one Mark had called Mary earlier, the one who clearly disapproved of Grace. You had so many options, Mary sneered. You didn't need Andrea at all, did you? You'd marry anyone just to get your inheritance. Mark calmly placed an arm around Grace. Yes, Mary, I won't let you or anyone else take what my father built. That's why I found a way. He introduced Grace. Mary, meet my wife. Her name is Grace Bloom. Oh, nice to meet you, Grace said politely. Are you my husband's grandmother? Mary's face reddened. Her companion burst into laughter. Grandmother? You've aged in her eyes, Mary. Shut up, Mary hissed at the other woman before forcing a plastic smile. I'm his stepmother, dear, not his grandmother. Anyway, welcome to the family. Grace's eyes widened. Oh, I'm sorry, Mother, then. Sorry for the confusion, she repeated awkwardly, biting her lip. Mary shrugged, feigning indifference. It's fine. Doesn't really hurt since it's not true. She gave a condescending smirk. Congratulations on your wedding. Grace received the $2 million check after the reception. She nearly fainted from disbelief at how easily Mark handed it to her in exchange for going through with the wedding. When she went home to her mother and younger sister, Fiona, that night, they were equally shocked. $2 million? Where did you get this? Her mom, Linda Bloom, asked, eyes wide. Did you steal it? You need to return it if you did. Fiona chimed in, yeah, you'll go to prison, sis. Oh my gosh, are you both idiots? Grace snapped. Look, my name is on the check. Fiona grabbed the paper. It says Grace Bloom Anderson, but Anderson isn't your last name. That's me, Grace explained, holding out her shimmering wedding ring. I got married today in exchange for money. Their jaws dropped in unison. What? Fiona gasped. Grace smirked. He's coming for me tomorrow so I can move into his house, she added. Linda and Fiona exchanged glances, then burst into laughter. Fiona returned the check. Sis, please stop imagining things. Let's just eat dinner. Hunger is making you say weird stuff. Grace stomped off to her room, frustrated. No one believed her, but Mark proved her right the following morning, surprising her family by showing up at their front door. Oh my goodness, you weren't lying, dear, Linda exclaimed upon seeing Mark's handsome, well-dressed appearance. You really married an Anderson? A wealthy Anderson? Grace rolled her eyes. I told you, but you didn't believe me. Linda quickly ushered Mark inside. Please have a seat. We're sorry we weren't prepared. My daughter didn't mention you were coming. Mark gave a polite nod. I apologize for the sudden visit. I came to let you know I'll be taking Grace to live at my place. Oh, don't worry, dear, Linda said quickly. Go ahead and take her, and, well, you can keep her as long as you'd like. She stared at Grace. How did this even happen? And Anderson choosing you? Did you cast a love spell on him? Grace scowled. Why would I do that? Do you think so little of me? It's just that, well, he's an Anderson, and they're wealthy. Typically, they marry into equally wealthy families, right, Mark? Mark offered a small smile. That's just a rumor, ma'am. I don't care about someone's social status. Grace and I understand each other, and that's enough for me. Then call me Mom, Linda beamed, clearly thrilled. Not Ma'am or Mrs. Linda, just Mom. Mark surprisingly nodded. All right, Mom. Grace was then whisked away to Mark's home, a large house with 3 household staff members and 1 older caregiver, Aunt Esther, who had taken care of Mark in his youth. They all treated Grace kindly from the start, making her new environment a pleasant one. Grace gave $1 million of her $2 million payment to her family so they could enjoy life too. Ma'am, this is your room with Sir Mark, Aunt Esther explained, opening a large bedroom door. You can make babies in here. Grace's eyes went wide. Excuse me? Aunt Esther giggled and gently nudged her. We know how weddings usually go. The bed is huge, so you can have all sorts of positions. Grace felt herself blushing. What on earth? Another staff member appeared with a big hardcover book. Here, ma'am, Aunt Esther wants you to have this. Grace took it and glanced at the title, nearly dropping it when she realized what it was. She quickly handed it back, her face flaming. Sex positions? I don't need that. I can manage. Aunt Esther grinned, handing it back. It's our gift to you. You see, Sir Mark's all alone now. His parents have passed, and his stepmother is no help. I'm actually glad you married him and not Andrea. Grace mustered a smile. Thank you, but, all right, I'll take it. Yeah. Soon left alone in the big bedroom, Grace sat on the edge of the bed, holding that racy book. She had no idea how to handle this awkward arrangement. She and Mark were technically married, but they barely knew each other. He had promised they could separate after 6 months. Suddenly, the bedroom door swung open, and Mark walked in. Shocked, Grace dropped the book. Before she could snatch it back, he picked it up, reading the cover. Sex positions? He said, arching an eyebrow at her. Want to try them out right now? Grace grabbed the book from him. That was given by Aunt Esther. I'm sorry. Relax, he said, resting a hand on her shoulder as her heart pounded. We won't do anything you're not ready for. He handed her a paper bag. Here, this is my way of saying thank you for saving me and my father's will. He gave her a tight-lipped smile and then headed to the bathroom. Sinking onto the couch, Grace looked inside the paper bag and found several boxes of expensive chocolates. She smiled unconsciously. Their first week of marriage was relatively comfortable, though they were still awkward around each other. It helped that Grace was talkative, and Mark turned out to be a decent listener. She also had Aunt Esther and the rest of the staff for company. It was an unexpected marriage, but she tried to make the best of it. A month passed. Mark secured his inheritance from his late father. That was his entire reason for rushing to get married. He needed a wife before his father's will expired so the money wouldn't go to Mary, his stepmother. That evening, they celebrated Mark's success at a grand hotel. He was introduced as the new owner and CEO of his father's business. Grace watched him deliver a speech, noting that he sounded so sophisticated. When he walked back to her, she teased, "You sounded so classy up there." He looked amused. Really? She nodded. Yeah, very proper. Kind of makes you seem unreachable. He smirked, grabbing a bouquet from a passing server and handing it to her. For you. Her eyes widened. For me? Yes, he answered. She inhaled the scent of the flowers, a broad smile on her face. She'd never received flowers before, and certainly not from a husband. Thank you, she said. He pulled her by the waist, bringing her close. Next time, let's eat together, okay? We're married, after all. Sometimes you still act shy around me, he remarked. She swallowed hard. I am not really that shy. He sighed. I can tell, Grace, and I don't like it. After all, we're husband and wife. 1 month in, we shouldn't be shy, right? She tried to laugh it off. Oh, okay. Starting tonight, I'll stop putting a pillow in the middle of the bed. He leaned in, whispering in her ear, "Good girl," he said, then briefly kissed her cheek. In the month they'd lived together, they weren't one of those silent couples who barely talked. Grace was too chatty, and Mark didn't mind. Since their marriage had an expiration date of 6 months, they agreed to just enjoy it while it lasted. They shared kisses and sweet gestures, though they still hadn't fully consummated the marriage. She continued to block him at night with a pillow, but little by little, she was letting down her guard. Mark also insisted she quit her delivery job after seeing one of her co-workers order her around, nearly making Mark punch the poor guy. Grace became a full-time housewife, though it felt more like she was free to do whatever she wanted. That night, Grace removed the pillow barrier. All right, she told Mark, I took the pillows away. See? He promptly pulled off his t-shirt in front of her. Hey, she shrieked, flushing. Why are you taking your clothes off? I'm hot, he answered, flopping onto the bed. That's not allowed. Put your shirt back on. She grabbed it off the floor and tossed it at him. He just laughed. Still shy, huh? Like you've never seen my body before. That's not the point, she huffed, crossing her arms. Get dressed now. Instead, he grabbed her wrist and yanked her onto the bed. She squealed, landing on top of him. He locked his legs around her so she couldn't escape. Stop, Mark, let go. He gazed seriously at her. Why are you still shy around me? We agreed that we'd make the most of our time together, right? We only have 5 months to go. I know, she said softly. It's just, we hardly know each other. If your real bride had shown up, I wouldn't even be here. I'm just the stand-in. He cupped her chin. Then let's really get to know each other. Don't push me away. We have 5 months left, so let's use them well. You are my wife, Grace. She felt her heart pound as he flipped positions, pinning her beneath him. I'm serious, he whispered. You're my wife. I'm your husband. There's no need to be shy. She closed her eyes when he leaned in and kissed her. From that night on, they started truly getting to know each other. Mark began taking Grace out on dates after work, and if he had too much to do, he'd bring her to his office. Over 2 months, they traveled to different countries, including Singapore, Thailand, South Korea, and Japan. He indulged her, buying anything she liked, taking countless photos together. They even went to France to see the Eiffel Tower, where Grace realized she was falling in love with him. One afternoon, Grace was cooking dinner when Mark arrived home from work. He walked up behind her, hugging her waist and kissing her neck. 4 months had passed since their wedding. What are you making? He asked. Chicken adobo, she replied, turning to face him. Have you eaten yet? Nope, he said, kissing her lightly on the lips. She gasped and accidentally bumped her elbow on the hot pan, jerking away in pain. Ouch. Sorry, babe, he said, snickering and pulling her back into a hug. I'm sure your cooking is delicious. Sit in the living room while I finish, she said, feeling her heart flutter. You'll get us both burned with your flirting. Fine, fine, he laughed, brushing his lips against her cheek before stepping away. Grace breathed a little shakily as she resumed cooking. She couldn't deny it, she was happier than she'd ever been. But her mind always circled back to the fact that their contract marriage ended in 6 months. Now, only 2 months remained. The following morning, Grace went to a large grocery store with Aunt Esther. They needed to stock up on supplies. Aunt Esther, Grace said while pushing her cart, would you like to eat at the restaurant after we finish here? My treat. Oh, thank you, ma'am, Aunt Esther replied, but I prefer eating at home with your cooking. She smiled. I hope you and Mr. Mark stay together for a long time. He seems genuinely happy with you. I never saw that glow when he was with Andrea. Grace paused. Who is Andrea, anyway? Aunt Esther's eyes narrowed. Why do you ask? Will you be hurt if I say Mark liked her? Grace fell silent for a moment. Aunt Esther chuckled and shook her head. No, don't worry. Mark never actually liked Andrea. It was Andrea who liked him. She was basically arranged for him by his father, but Mark was never interested in her. Then why didn't she show up to the wedding if she wanted him? It doesn't make sense for her to bail, Grace said, baffled. Aunt Esther shrugged. That's what we all wondered. It remains a mystery. They continued shopping, and then Aunt Esther asked gently, how about you? Do you have feelings for your husband? Grace bit her lip. We only have 6 months. We've used up 4. I'm scared to tell him how I feel. What if he doesn't feel the same? Aunt Esther squeezed Grace's hand. Better to speak up than regret staying silent, right? You two have shared quite a few memories already, traveling and living together. If you really love him, tell him. Whatever happens, at least you won't be left wondering. That advice stuck with Grace. She decided she'd confess her feelings that day, no matter what. But returning home, she found an unexpected visitor in the living room, Mark's stepmother, Mary, accompanied by a lovely young woman who looked sweet and innocent. Mary smiled thinly. "Good afternoon. We've been waiting. Is Mark here?" "No," Grace replied. "He's at work." "I'm sorry, I didn't know you were coming." "Oh, it's fine," Mary said. "You're not really who we came to see." She noticed Grace eyeing the girl beside her. "Isn't she gorgeous? Her name is Andrea. She's here to talk to your husband." "Where is he?" Grace's stomach flipped at the name Andrea. "You're Andrea?" "Yes," the girl spoke quietly. Mary continued, "How have you been, Grace? Things seem to be going well for you and Mark. I heard you two visited several countries. How fun. Shame I wasn't invited." She offered a plastic smile. Grace forced a grin of her own. "Yeah, too bad. Maybe if you joined us, it would have been even more exciting." Andrea stood quietly, eyes darting around. Aunt Esther, behind Grace, gave the pair of women a wary look. Mary's fan snapped closed. "Anyway, we'll wait here for Mark. He's bound to come home soon, right?" Grace swallowed, feeling her heart pound. She had a sinking feeling that this was going to change everything. A woman smiled. "What are you doing here, aside from wanting to talk to my husband?" She stepped closer. "I have an offer for you, Grace Bloom." Grace lowered her gaze to the envelope the woman held out. "Well, you only married my stepson for money, didn't you?" Aunt Mary said. Grace looked at her. "Aunt Mary?" Andrea, the beautiful woman beside her, spoke up. "It's fine, Andrea. I'm doing this to make things right for you," Aunt Mary continued, still staring at Grace. "This is my way of saying sorry for ruining your dreams, for stopping you from coming to your wedding with Mark and sending you abroad." Grace's mouth fell open. So Aunt Mary was the reason the bride never showed up. "And you," Aunt Mary turned back to Grace, suddenly barged in and took her place. "Inside this envelope is $1 million, which I believe is enough for you to live a good life. Leave my son to Andrea and walk away." Grace's jaw tensed as she returned the envelope. "You can't buy me off, Aunt Mary," she said firmly. "So you're the reason Andrea never showed up. And you," she turned to Andrea, "you went along with it. It's not my fault he married me." Aunt Mary laughed. "Don't act so important, dear, because I know you and Mark are going to separate." "Well, if you already know we'll separate," Grace replied hotly, "why can't you wait? Once we end things, you can do whatever you want. Even tie him up for all I care. We won't be married anymore." Suddenly, Aunt Mary slapped Grace. Shocked, Grace stared back at her. "Don't you dare shout at me," Aunt Mary hissed. "Know your place. You're just a substitute for Andrea. If she had shown up, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have experienced my son's luxuries." Andrea quickly intervened, gently pulling Aunt Mary away. "Aunt Mary, I think we should leave. Mark isn't even here right now." Aunt Mary exhaled and nodded. "Fine." She glanced back at Grace. "Try telling Mark about this little incident, and you won't like what I'll do next." She then turned to the household staff, who went pale. "And if any of you tattle, I'll have your tongues cut off." Those were her final words before she left with Andrea. Mark had just finished his meeting and was looking forward to going home to his wife. He checked the time, 8 p.m. She had probably already eaten since she usually had dinner earlier. He smiled to himself, spotting the bouquet of flowers, a teddy bear, and a paper bag of gifts he planned to give her. He grabbed them, only to have the office door open, revealing Aunt Mary along with someone he never expected to see again, Andrea. "Oh, how sweet," Aunt Mary drawled. "Is that for Andrea?" Mark scowled. "What are you doing here?" "I brought Andrea because she wants to talk to you," Aunt Mary replied calmly. "I know you're furious at her, but at least hear her side. With that, Aunt Mary stepped out, leaving Mark alone with Andrea. Andrea locked eyes with him, looking almost pleading. Mark sat in his swivel chair, arching a brow. Fine, talk. You have 10 minutes. Andrea stepped forward. First, I want to say sorry. Sorry for not showing up that day. I had an emergency, and I was too ashamed to face you after. It's only now that I've worked up the courage to come. She paused, trembling. I love you, Mark. You know how much I wanted to marry you. I'm sorry I disappointed you that day. Now I want you back. I want us to be together again. I want us to get married. That's all. Mark cut her off. I've heard enough, Andrea. She tried to hug him from behind, tears falling. I'm sorry I didn't show up. I love you, Mark Andrew. Please let me be with you again. He gently but firmly pried her hands away. Go home, Andrea. There's nothing left for you here. I'm already married, and I need to go because my wife is waiting for me. With that, he picked up the gifts he'd bought Grace and left the office. Upon arriving home, one of the household staff informed Mark that Aunt Mary and Andrea had visited. Concerned, he rushed upstairs to the bedroom, where he found Grace already asleep. He sighed in relief and gently lay down beside her, kissing her until she stirred awake. She blinked at him, then smiled. You're here. She sat up and yawned, fixing her hair. Mark stood, retrieving the gifts and handing them to her. Her jaw dropped slightly. What's all this? Flowers and a teddy bear? He shrugged. No special reason. I just felt like giving you something. You matter to me. Her eyes widened at the sweet statement. He took her hand. Did Aunt Mary or Andrea do anything to you? Startled, Grace froze. Mark, I don't want secrets between us, but they didn't do anything. They weren't here for me, she lied. He narrowed his eyes. Really? She quickly changed the subject. These flowers are beautiful. Thank you. You're welcome. Have you eaten yet? She shook her head. Not yet. Then let's go. He kissed her cheek, and they headed downstairs together to have dinner. From that incident onward, Grace felt she should strengthen her bond with Mark Andrew Anderson, especially since Andrea was back. Yet she still hadn't confessed her true feelings. Maybe it was better not to, since their marriage had an expiration date. After 6 months, everything would change. She'd signed the prepared annulment paper and walk out of his life. A month went by after that incident. It was now Mark's birthday, held at a lavish resort. His relatives, employees, and fellow business associates were all invited, as well as Grace's family. Her mother, Linda, and sister, Fiona, were in awe of the luxurious place. This resort is so beautiful, Grace, her mom exclaimed. This is our first time somewhere this grand. I can't believe they let us in here. Come on, Mom, don't belittle yourself. But I'm serious. Look how amazing everything is. It smells rich, looks rich. You can just feel the wealth in the air. Look at these clothes I'm wearing. Did you see the price tag? I almost didn't want to put them on, Linda said, pointing out a price tag she hadn't removed. Where's your husband? I want to wish him happy birthday. He's busy greeting guests. Why don't you two go eat first? Grace suggested. Fiona, she called to her sister, who was busy snapping photos. Go with Mom and grab some food. I'll just use the restroom. Grace made her way to the bathroom. Mark was indeed swarmed by his guests, but she was used to it. She lived with him, after all, so she figured she should let him socialize. After using the toilet, she stepped into the powder room to fix her hair and lipstick. While applying a new coat, a familiar face entered, Andrea. Their eyes met in the mirror. You're going to leave Mark Andrew Anderson after your 6 months are up, right? Andrea said by way of greeting, setting her purse on the counter and staring at Grace's reflection. Annulment, I mean. She went on. He told me all about it. Your marriage has an expiration date. I want my love back after that, so I want confirmation. Once 6 months is over, you won't be around anymore, correct? Grace's voice came out strained. Where did you hear about that 6-month rule? Andrea smirked. Your husband told me. He said you'll be separating after 6 months. Honestly, he and I have been reconnecting. The spark is still there, and you don't have real feelings for him, right? Grace balled her fists. What if I do? Andrea sighed dramatically. That's too bad. Mark won't reciprocate, knowing your status. He won't choose you romantically. Grace tightened her fists further. Andrea casually reapplied her lipstick. If I were you, Andrea continued, I'd step aside and let me and Aunt Mary have our way. You don't know Aunt Mary, Grace. She'll do anything. She even sent me abroad just to stop our wedding. What makes you think she won't do worse to you? In fact, I'd bet she already has. Satisfied with her appearance in the mirror, Andrea walked out, leaving Grace there, shoulders heavy. It hurt. Maybe Mark truly planned to end things after 6 months. Grace slipped away from the event to the resort's pool area, trying to clear her head. If Mark had told Andrea about the separation timeline, then he really had no intention of staying with Grace. Their marriage was just for convenience. She was just an unexpected bride, after all, and these were unexpected feelings. Here you are, came a cold voice. Grace turned to see Aunt Mary approaching. You're not mingling at the birthday celebration. Then again, you don't really belong there. Neither does your family, so I sent them away out of pity. Grace's eyes widened. What do you mean you sent them away? Yes, because they don't belong here, Aunt Mary repeated. They're your family, so I had every right to dismiss them. They're just meddling outsiders who don't know their place. Makes my blood boil. Grace bristled. You've got nerve. Are you jealous that I'm enjoying your son's lavish lifestyle instead of you? Aunt Mary's fake smile vanished. What did you say? Just say the word if you're jealous. I can give you all these luxuries, seeing as you failed in your plan to keep Mark's wealth. He's the one who inherited it, right? Aunt Mary's face contorted with rage as she raised her hand to slap Grace.